In this video, I want to talk to you guys about first aid and the items that I keep in my preps stored for first aid and wound care. And I know first aid is not the first thing on everyone's mind, but when an emergency arises, we're not going to be able to run out to the store to buy any first aid supplies, or we may not even find them when we get there. So I like to keep some items in stock already in our prep so that I can ensure that my family has enough supplies to get us through a disaster or a catastrophe. There could be one or more people who are injured in your family, so you want to make sure that you can take care of wounds on multiple people just in case. And as I know personally, a severe injury can definitely use up a lot of first aid supplies. Last year I had two of the tips of my fingers amputated, and it was a severe injury that I needed a lot of first aid supplies for, and that's why I wanted to pick it up a notch when it came down to my first aid, because I already know how much one injury can require to keep clean and free of infection. So this is something that we can definitely all improve on, and also of course make sure that our families are taken care of when an emergency comes. I put together my first aid supplies in these biohazard containers. The biohazard containers are great because they keep everything nice and clean and dust free, as well as keeping it secure in case of an earthquake or if something were to fall on them. At least actually protect the items that are inside. Even if the bio breaks, you'll more than likely still have some usable supplies even if the box does break. Now, one of the primary reasons I store my medical supplies in a biohazard container is because I actually can use that biohazard container later to throw away any biohazard materials that you don't want people to be touching, like blood or any items that need to be thrown away. A clean biohazard container can also be used for other things such as trash or even water collection. If you have a clean container, you can, collect water in it and store it at least in the meantime. So these containers come in very handy for multiple purposes. And along with the biohazard container, I do keep a roll of biohazard bags. This roll has a few bags in it. Now, of course, you can use it for waste material, but you can also use these if you need to use them for the bathroom, hygiene alternatives. These bags come in great, and you never know, these also come in great for keeping people away from things that you don't want them touching. I like to put things in biohazard containers because most people will stay away from a biohazard sign. So if they think something is contaminated, it's less likely that they will want to take it or want to use it. So it serves multiple purposes, just to make sure not just that the supplies are safe inside, but that no one's going to want to walk away with them, at least not initially until they inspect the biohazard containers. One of the primary things that I focus on, of course, is sanitation, and not just being able to sanitize our hands with some hand sanitizer that I keep, but I also have some instant hand sanitizing wipes because, as you can see, things can happen. I got bit up and I wanted to make sure things stay clean, and even if you don't have, a chance to wash your hands all the time, I go outdoors a lot, so this is great to have just to clean your hands off and clean off any areas before you treat any wounds. The other items that I carry is actually some bleach. I only have them in this very small container. They're about 1 fluid ounce. I know we can get bleach in larger bottles, but since most of these supplies are going to get stored into smaller containers, I don't want to take up too much space with the bleach, and I just keep a couple of bottles of these right in each container. I use, 1 part bleach and 3 parts water, and I just use that to sterilize any surface that I need to. So I like to keep a couple of bottles of them in there because it does help me bleach and sanitize a working surface area, or maybe sanitize some utensils we may need to use, or even, just wash rags or whatever it is that you need to bleach and sanitize. And of course, I like to make sure that I have some absorbent underpads just for making sure that surfaces stay clean when you're working on an injury. And it definitely contributes a lot to infection. So, keeping a sterile workplace is definitely important. So, I have a few of these packs in my biohazard as well. The other items that I like to keep is some sterile water and some saline to clean off wounds. I know you can keep clean water, and saline in larger bottles, but I like to be able to just use what I need. So the small tubes work just great for me. The sterile water's in the blue and the saline is in the pink. Saline and sterile water are going to come in very handy, especially if there is a major disaster and the water is compromised. You never know. So having sterile water and saline to clean off wounds is very important, so I keep a box of those. And the other item that I keep down here is some alcohol prep pads in case I need to sterilize a working area, clean off some skin, or also just, prepare an injection site. Another item that I do keep to clean larger areas like arms, or even your face is these BZK wipes. Now, these can be used, they're just moist towelettes. They can be used for anything. They're like the one they give you at the doctors, at the clinics, to wipe yourself off before you're gonna, provide like a urine sample. And you can also use them basically on any part of your body. It is safe. So I like to keep them around just to clean anything else that the hand sanitizing wipes may get wasted on. And the other items that I put into my bio are for personal protection, and that is some surgical masks, especially with everything going on with the pandemic and the coronavirus. This is very important to get. If you can get a hold of them now, definitely get some and keep them in your preps, because as we've seen, these run out really fast. When you need them, they may not be available. And the other thing that I keep, of course, is some large gloves. Large is a pretty standard size, although I use mediums. My family uses large, so I just stick with something that works for everyone. If you want to get them in multiple sizes, you can go ahead. Large works for me, even though I have smaller hands, and I would rather it fit all of us and not just one person. So I can upsize, to large for the gloves and make sure that everyone in our family is able to use them. I do keep the small biohazard container as well, and so just in case we have any use for them, I do have some sterile plungers just in case I gotta give a dose of medication to my pet or basically anyone. And I also keep these the safety locking tip syringes, just in case we need to use it for lidocaine or any other injection. The gauge is kind of high, so I do keep some other ones just in case, but these are okay to use for, like I said, lidocaine injections in case you need to close up a wound or stitch anything. These are going to come in very handy. So all of them just kind of get packed in here until we need them, and they stay nice and safe in the container. I just don't really close the container. The other item that I like to keep is these lancets. Now, a lot of people don't really have a lot of need for these. Most people use these if they're like diabetic and they need to test their blood sugar levels. Luckily, we don't have that issue in our family, but I do like these lancets for other things. And this is just my personal preference. I am in no way giving you advice, but look at me, guys. I'm like completely bit up. I went out and camping for our next video this weekend, and of course I got bit up, and like I said, I'm not giving any medical advice, but I personally like to take these lancets and I will puncture one side of the wound there if I feel it's very blistered, and then just kind of let the oozing of it come out naturally. And that's what I use the lancets for, honestly. That's like the only thing I really use them for. But it's just always good to have around. You never know. And of course, it would not be a first aid kit without any bandages. So I have multiple sizes of band-aids here, just the regulars, and ones that are for larger wounds, as well as some knuckle bandages here. So I have a couple boxes here, and each of the containers has some of these in them. I also keep tons of the conforming stretch gauze. It's extremely important to have them because if you have an injury like I did, you want to make sure that it stays clean. And sometimes, you may need more than one cleaning. These are great. You can cut them into strips and just use them as gauze as well. So I like the fact that you have a bunch of gauze just in one roll. And of course, you can use them for like sprains, even creating a splint. So these are great to have. I have a bunch of them in different types, in gauze form, and this is definitely going to come in handy along with this wrap tape. This is the self adhesive tape, and it's really good to have just so that things stay in place. And also because I have pets, and for those of you who have children as well, this is great because you can get it all complete into one little neat package. It's adhesive to itself, and it's a lot easier to work with when you need to work fast. And last but not least, I have some wound care items here, which basically includes some gauze, and that's non-sterile but clean, and also some 2x2 sterile gauze, as well as some 4x4 sterile gauze. These are individually packaged just to keep it all clean, and some triple antibiotic ointment packets here that are good for wound cleaning, and that also helps prevent the gauze from sticking to the wound. So I like to use the ointment directly on the pad and then put it on the wound so it doesn't stick to the wound directly, and it's a lot easier to clean the wound, especially if it's painful. You guys be mindful of that. That triple antibiotic ointment comes in very handy. And last but not least, of course, we have some surgical tape here, and they're just regular gauze tape here, in case we need to secure some of the larger gauze onto the wounds. But this is basically all of the supplies that I keep in the biohazard containers, and as you can see, I have quite a few of these biohazard containers ready to go. I am actually preparing to move. I'm purchasing land, and I'm getting ready to supply not just my family's home, but now I'm getting ready to move some of these supplies over into the new land that we purchased. So I'm getting things ready slowly, just to make sure that we have some essentials at all of our locations, and that way, in case we were to for some reason need to evacuate without these items, we have items like this stored already at our bug out locations. So if you found any of these items useful, make sure you give the video a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can keep up. We're going to be doing a whole series on finding bug out locations and finding bug out land, and once I purchase it, we're going to be moving into it together. We're going to be creating our own small off-grid homestead, and I'm so excited to share that journey with you. So make sure you subscribe so I can see you in the next video.